There are bridges in the sky, they are shining in the sun. They are stone and steel and wood and wire, they can change two things to one. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a war. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a war. There are canyons, they are yawning in the night. They are rank and bitter anger, they are all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. Let us build a bridge of music and let us cross it with a song. Let us span another canyon, let us right another wrong. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way.
We will tell them building bridges be off and on their way. Wow, this is a good program with Jeff and Susan. And the name of this is Bridges Programming, Sunday on the Front Stoop, the longest stoop in the world. Wow. Just have to focus on this historic investigation a little longer. This is an interesting and Jeff and Susan are going to tell us more. It involves the health of our whole planet. Wow, and we're going to thank Eric Schneiderman.
Okay, we are.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Holding the fort while we were. Can you hear?
For some reason or other, when I shut down the music, it doesn't matter. It's technical stuff anyway, so we'll deal with it some other time.
And you're right, Dennis. Go ahead with what you were saying.
Go ahead, right on there. Go ahead, Dennis.
I just wanted to mention, yes, that this show is focused on something interesting. There's a company called Exxon Mobile, and this is more about the fraud investigation of Exxon Mobile. It says just have to focus on this historic investigation a little longer. After all, it involves the health of our whole planet. Thank you, Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, for your courage and persistence. And I'm going to ask Jeff and Susan. He is the Attorney General in New York State, right?
That's right. That's
but
right.
There are 20 some odd states that
since the 8 months, but it looks like from the articles I've read that the investigation has really been going on for almost 2 years, because it was already the preliminaries a year before the announcement by Attorney General Eric Schneiderman of New York State that he was investigating and asking for paperwork from Exxon Mobile when they knew what they knew, especially when they knew that climate change was
a real problem.
occurring because of human burning of fuels. And they are, of course, one of the major purveyors of what is called fossil fuel. It is, petroleum product. And we use it not just for burning in our electric automobiles and electric power plants, but also one of the major uses for these petroleum products is in making plastics in the chemical industry. Almost paint, any plastic material, any solvents, pesticides. These are things, chemical fertilizers. All these, we don't even necessarily realize this, but the use of petroleum product is pervasive. And it was once said by, and I've forgotten who said it, but he said that the bricks and mortar, this was an insider of the petroleum industry, and he said the bricks and mortar of the petroleum industry is the chemical products of the petroleum materials that are used. They are essential. I mean, they're not only used to run the factories that make these places, they are part of the ingredients within the products, within the chemical fertilizers, within the pesticides, within the paint, within the plastics of any. I mean, you can't even look around you and not see products.
No matter where you turn,
instantly.
it's all about
Right.
fossil fuel.
Yeah.
And,
So
and
our
we say- and
economy-
it's all about petrochemical, and petrochemical is the basis of the economy, which is only benefits the stockholders for major corporations. The little teeny guy who's invested in stocks has nothing to do
But
with this.
we do get the yearly publication.
We have one share of
and
Exxon Mobile.
and that was a gift from a jokester at our wedding, who thought that might be fun for us to continue to watch the profit margins of Exxon Mobile rise through the years.
And it has.
And it has, definitely. And then to see
It was a
also
jokester.
what
A
parts,
jokester.
yeah, it's a black joke, and what parts of the world are being ransacked for this purpose.
Ransack. Dennis, are you online? You're not online yet,
You're
are
a
you?
pirate today. And I got a new kind of phrase for, instead of having to say the whole thing Exxon Mobile, it's Exmo.
Exmo.
So because it's too much to say.
Exmo instead of Exxon Mobile.
Right.
It used to be Mobile Corporation and Exxon Corporation, two separate corporations.
But they bought each other.
But
They combined.
They merged. So
because
Exxon used to be, and then there was Texaco. There was Texaco supported the arts. Mobile supported Mobile Masterpiece Theater, and that's how they control the media. And Texaco Performing Art, I think it was Texaco.
What's sort of interesting, that's right. All these things, they not only make chemicals, but they support huge, other huge
news media
cultural
programs
and news media businesses.
Right, to make sure that they can control the laws.
So they are entertaining us at the same time and saying, look, if you don't cooperate, you're going to lose your listenership for this huge,
we're not going to give you the money.
Right.
They support it to the millions of dollars.
You can see how
Texaco
that works.
Performing
But I
Arts
just wanted to
and
say
Mobile
something
Masterpiece
about
Theater. But I want to get
the blending of
you-
Exxon and Mobil.
Okay.
That was a very calculated thing, and there's more to it than I know. But one thing I learned recently about that is, and this really helps to have elite college educated business people in your company who can think these things through and say, okay, this is the best way for you to go forward for the next 100 years with your and make profit. What they did is they combined those two large petroleum companies so that one of them would be the one that is scoping out the next, doing research for the next steps they're going to take, and the other one is building. So they made a way that they didn't have to contract anything out. They had everything in-house, and this for a very powerful
Large
corporation is a huge advantage, because then they have nobody, no little side pirates around them saying, oh, I want more money for this, or I won't
Side
do it
pirates,
for you.
side pirates.
No, we don't have to deal with those little pirates anymore, because we're got everything we need.
We can now be the king.
We have everything we need within our corporation. We have the people that are doing research and development, and they're all dedicated to that. And we have the people that will build what we've decided is worth building and will make us profit. And so it's a complete package. They tucked it all in on the edges and made sure there were no way those other little pirates could get in and subcontract to them or whatever. And so then when they reach out, they're at a huge level of strength, and they can say, well, we really don't need you, but we might use a little bit of your, but they never really have to depend on any. They've got everything under control, and once you are a employee of Exmo, you have actually joined an organization which is extraordinary.
Before you go any further, I got housekeeping I got to do to begin with.
I know, you can always do that.
No, I can't always, because once you get on a roll, I got to
No, it'll only take another few minutes. Not even that. But one thing to understand also is that the largeness of Exmo is it's comparable to our military organization. It's comparable to an army base.
Bigger than
what they do, and they have. I mean, if you look at the map of the world and where they are all over the world, they are all over the world, and everywhere that they have a significant presence, they build a huge place. They buy first. The people go in and that work for them, and they look for the land that they need, like the thousands of acres or whatever they're going to need to build a community of houses to house their people that are going to work there, maybe their whole lives, or maybe just for 10 years, however long that particular, project, meaning how long the oil that they found either offshore or under the ground there lasts. But they build a huge compound, and it's got walls around it, just like a military base, because they are in other countries where they may not be particularly welcome.
They're not going to be
and they're going to be living in a lifestyle that is normally much more lush and privileged than the people that are living all around them. So they've got a wall around this huge development for their employees. Okay, so now you're a member of Exmo. You're an employee of Exmo. You are, your life depends on whatever their indoctrination is. You can see this at every level with large corporations. If you step out of line, or if you want to create a union or something and get better wages, forget that.
They're going to kill you.
Well, not necessarily, but you'll definitely get fired. You'll be out of there. So they slowly learn, just how much they can say and how far they can reach to either side or up or down. And they got their little outfits. You got your Exxon Mobile outfit when you go to work, unless you're way, way hell up there, and then you get to wear the fancy suit, the silk suits that you get in Europe and everything, like Tillerson, who's the CEO of Exxon. But it's important to understand the hugeness of this and how large a company and how very similar the way it's organized is to the way any military campaign that's going to be long-term.
And if you're the president, then you could be a king. You could be the king.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely is
Yeah.
the king.
And if you try to be a pirate and help people else, well, this is what happens. You get into a problem like that.
Well,
So you always want to
then you're hunted down.
right. So you want to make sure that
We don't have anything for Robin Hood there. I see. You can't even do that.
Robin Hood can be that can be Robin Hood like that.
No, it doesn't want Robin Hood.
You got a green hood on it. But anyway, the point I'm trying to bring out is that this is brought to you by the Human Renewable Energy Measurement. And the point of the Human Renewable Energy Measurement is we can say that every human being in the world has to have their basic needs met or they will die for a minimal amount of their life's work. In other words, we all live about 80 years of age, and you can't change that. That's with reasonable food and water and shelter, you'll live 80 years of age. And you need to have those minimum energy units or calories, or 1 million energy units a year of water, 1 million energy units a year of food, and shelter, which is measurable in energy units. And every human being should have that. We have to agree that. And every human being alive now is getting that, but they're working their 80 years. Like I just heard someone tell me that they have to make $200,000 a year, because if they don't, then something's going to happen to them. But they're willing to work their lives away until they die to have that quality of life. But their quality of life drops down because they're working so much. A friend of mine wants to buy a Porsche, and I say, "Why do you want a Porsche? It's $200,000 for a car." I said, "Why don't you just buy a simple Prius?" "Well, it's too much money." "Well, you're willing to buy a Porsche for a used Porsche that's not going to run as well as a Prius for 10 times that, but you're not willing to spend any because they're too busy worried about money. Money is more important. There's an old Henny Youngman joke, and it says, the guy comes up behind him with a gun and says, "Your money or your life?" He says, "Take my life, because I'm saving my money for my old age." And that's what most people think about. Money is the primary driver for their life, and they feel as though they have to have more and more and more money. Whether you're a millionaire or whether you're a billionaire or a millionaire or someone who just makes $50,000 or $100,000 a year, they have to be able to make more and more and more. And then we correlate that to greed. And it's interesting, the people who I talk about who say are greedy are not the poor people. They are the sort of the lower or upper middle classes, and they complain about people who want to make more and more. So it's interesting to see the perception of what greed is and how much more everybody wants to make. They're always looking for the best deals on cars, the best deals on, including myself. I'm not excluded from this, because we're schooled to think this way. And that's a big, big problem. And Exxon Mobile is doing their best, their topmost best, to make as much profit as they can for the stockholders who want to make more and more profit, who then keep the CEO, the president of the company, in position, or the CEO, the what do they call a CEO? It stands for company commander or something. CEO.
Opportunist.
An opportunity. But the thing is, so we're all part of this problem. And it's just a question of which degree. So we have to change the actual thinking process of the problem.
Certified economic opportunist.
Certified, yeah. Well, we get CEO.
Certified economic opportunist.
It means something different, but anyway, that's the
certainly
point.
An economic.
So the reason why we do the programming here, and we have this called the Human Renewable Energy Measure, and we want to get that message out. So any way you can think about getting it out, so every human being in the world has their basic needs met for a minimal amount of their life's work. In other words, there's so much technology out there that we feel as though that 1 hour a day, and not just us, but people who study this, 1 hour a day or 1 day a week would give you your basic needs met, your education, food, and shelter. And we have to come to that understanding, and we need to get this measurement into the vocabulary. So that's why we keep on doing these programs. And we compare these programs to what's going on in the world. The Pope has mentioned lots of stuff. A Jesuit priest I
We're
heard,
trying to show the impacts
which-
of the economic
right.
system
and
how
we could change this.
it's creating
What
symptoms.
you could do, you could easily change this problem if each individual, spends some time. First, you got to understand it, that there's a way of fixing it without overthrowing a government or putting in position the right political figures, because the political figures are controlled by the economic system. The entire world is controlled by the economic system because there's no measurement on it. There's no measurement to say, how much do you need? My attorney told me I was selling some property the other day. He said, well, why don't you sell it for more? But how much more do I need? Do I really need that much more? He said, it's worth so much more. Well, that's subjective.
That's in his opinion.
It's in his opinion it's worth so much more. Because
It's worth what somebody will pay for it.
Somebody's, well, you should convert your currency to gold. Well, gold has no value. What has value is my life, my hours of worrying about my money, my hours of going to work. I should be doing what I choose to do for fun, for enjoyment, for life, because we're not going to live that long. We're going to wind up in some kind of an institution if we're not careful, because we're going to just get too old. No matter how careful we are, we're going to get old. We're not going to be able to move as easily or think as clearly. We're going to get old. And what I'm asking for now is the young people, the people who are 30s and 20s and even in the teens, to understand, there's something wrong with the system.
That the most precious thing is your life.
Is your lifespan.
Right.
And of course we want older people to do it, but older people are so set in their ways, it's hard for them to change their thinking process. If you understand, we need a measurement, just like we needed a name for gravity. We need that to change. We need
to measure basic needs within the economic
system and change the
Right.
system. And the only people who could do that are the people young people
who are living through this now.
They do music, and they know there's a problem because they can't make money with music. Who do artwork, they know there's a problem because they can't make money with artwork.
Well, that's not a problem.
Well, it is a problem because they have to survive, so it's a problem. And they don't have enough time. They have to work 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week in a boring, monotonous job that's probably not necessary. If they just work a couple of hours a day or a day
for their
a week,
basic needs,
for their basic needs, they'd have the free time.
But what that tells you when art doesn't convert to money is that the most important things, your lifetime, and the most significant things you might be doing don't convert to money.
Taking care of a child.
Yeah, that doesn't convert to money. So that should tell everyone that we're leaving out of our economic system the most important things about living. So economics shouldn't be robbing your life from you, your lifetime, your work life. It should be there to serve human needs first and foremost, and then let individuals decide whether they want to work for money that will they'll be able to save up and maybe buy themselves something that they've always wanted. That's
like a Porsche,
or whatever,
or a fancy house, or.
But meanwhile, your basic needs are met: your shelter, food, and your education, and those are. That should be the cornerstone of our economic system. And right now we're very far away from that because we've got companies like Exxon telling us what things are worth and what your life is worth. And they are not, their only focus is to make more profit for their company and for their shareholders.
Well, I want to bring something out.
That's why our lives are distorted.
But they want to make more profit, or they want to save money, so they don't care how much they pollute the world.
Right, exactly. But the type of product they're doing is extremely damaging.
We are doing very much similar because we're refusing to see.
But the level of destruction with a company.
We are supplying the company with the ability to do that because of our lifestyle. The lifestyle
itself has been created by the Industrial Revolution, which
that's not
was fueled by petroleum product, Jeff.
But that's the point.
You see that
we have to, right? So
you have to
it's
be
a
able to see
chicken
the
and
full
egg.
picture.
It's
It's a symbiotic
it's
growth.
a chicken
that's
and
gone
egg
together.
It's a chicken and egg.
Nobody is
syndrome.
more guilty than the other. But once you see the situation, you then have the burden of understanding it, and you must act on what you understand by figuring out a different way. First of all, figuring out that economics doesn't have to be
a bad thing.
A bad thing, a profit focused entity, and it's not a living thing. It's just a system, and the system right now only serves
a very
profit,
small portion.
and by serving only profit, it serves only a very small part of the human population.
Because it doesn't take into account what human beings need. So
Right.
we kill people all over the world. We're killing our atmosphere that's going to keep our survival going. We're changing the planet's climate because but we as individuals are doing just as much damage as Exxon Mobile. We are killing people the same way because of the way the economy works, and we're part of the economy. So once we face up to that you and I are killing people every day of the week from different places that we've never seen before, and we can't imagine the damage we're doing. Once we understand what we're doing, we may be able to make an effective change. And what we're saying on this program is we need to understand it. If the measurement that we came up with is real and it can be used like gravity was, we named just gravity 400 years ago, even though it was obvious that it was here forever. It's obvious that we have a problem with the economic system.
And we need to have basic needs met by economics.
Right.
But one thing that we're considering, we've heard a very eloquent person speaking the other day on one of, occasionally there's a news report that slips through very early in the morning and you never hear it again.
It's always 6 o'clock in the morning.
I was like semi-awake and I started hearing this interview. Jeff had the radio on, and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning.
6 o'clock in the morning.
And I don't usually get conscious until 7, but I couldn't stop listening, and then I had to just drag myself out of bed and take a note as to who this person was that was being interviewed. It was a Jesuit priest who works in Kentucky and has a parish there, and his whole life, I mean, he must probably be in his early 70s now. He has been evolving this ministry that became a ministry. At first he was a chemist, and then he became a Jesuit priest, and about our human impact on the environment. And he and Ralph Nader were buddies for a while there when they were younger, and then they went their separate. One went toward politics, and he went toward ministry. And we're hoping to. I'm going to research him a little more, and we may be able to contact him, because of one of the ways that you get a new idea of what we're trying to suggest with economics can serve humanity. There is a way within the economics itself to change its focus. So it doesn't mean that people can't make profit anymore. It doesn't mean there's no free market anymore. This is not what we're just saying. What needs to be accomplished before those things are done. And what needs to be accomplished is the satisfying of human needs worldwide. And we're hoping maybe reaching out to this individual who has a parish in Kentucky, and see if we can communicate, this idea to him. And then, because he actually is talking at his, when he talks
about renewable energy, he talks about sustainability
to the people that come to his church. And this is an outreach that can be done in any community, an outreach through your church. Today's Sunday. And that's when people get together. That's a traditional way that people get together.
And
That's a way to introduce
it's interesting. We have
difficult concepts.
we have so many people who try to
maybe not
divide
thinking about
like we are one planet. We're one species. We are living under one economic system. We as a species divided us races into black and white and different countries, 200 different countries. And then we even divided further. The religious people divided their Catholic groups separately. The Jews, they divided their Jewish group separately. The Presbyterians. So Dennis has a group he belongs to called the Interfaith Alliance. And that's what he likes about that, Dennis. Is that true? You want to bring all religions together so we all help humanity together. Is that correct, Dennis?
Oh, yes, exactly. Bring almost all this planet together, yes.
And once we've done that, once we come together as a species and say we have to stop killing one another. But unfortunately, even the Interfaith Alliance and all these different church groups, they're controlled by economic system. That's why the federal government makes sure that they gave them 10% as a tax reduction, or they made them exempt from taxes, so they don't have. So that's their perks by being a non-profit. You can't talk about the political system, and we're saying on this program that we all want to bring together all groups. Be it Republicans, Democrat, religious groups of all types, religions and countries of all types. That's why we're dealing with this. This is called Sunday on the Front Stoop, the longest stoop in the world. We have a call-in number, which is 863-812-4736. I wrote it down this time so I wouldn't forget it. And if you want to call in during a live program, we have live programs scheduled for 10 to 11 on Sundays and Wednesdays, and you can call in on that number. But more importantly than you call in on our programming, because we do get a lot of emails and we know we're getting a lot of listeners. Do your own thing. Figure out using your own independent mind on how you can help get this message out. That's what you could do. Just get this measurement in position. And
put it in your own words.
In any way you want
whatever
to.
makes sense to you. But it's important to keep, the thing that we think is important to keep in mind is that economics needs to serve people. But shall we get, have you done enough house cleaning?
I just want to make sure that we got the house cleaning done.
You did do that.
Now let's get back to what Exxon Mobile is doing.
Well, this is, and we had a conversation with a friend of ours who's also a lawyer the other day, mentioning this, that the fraud investigation of Exmo is, going on, and, and comparing it to the investigation that happened with big tobacco. And he kind of just poo-pooed. He says, well, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to be that significant. But it may not be that the way that he as a lawyer is looking at it, what's going to change? Well, yes, the economic system, life will go on similarly to what it is now. And maybe within our lifetimes, it'll not seem to change that significantly, but by investigating a company like this that's so huge and pervasive in its impact on the world, and now it's not just Attorney General Schneiderman; it's 20 more attorneys general from different states have joined him, and more I'm sure will in this investigation. The investigation itself is focusing people's attention, and we're trying to do it more with our programming because it isn't being covered enough, I feel, in the news in general. And that was another little, that flew by the coverage.
They're not covering the Pope either, by the way.
That don't change the subject, please, because I can't hardly keep all this going. So by focusing on this and showing that no company is untouchable as far as their activities, finally they are going to be investigated, and they're going to have the attention of at least attorneys general. If
In-
the
in
if
20
the
states.
reporters, news and etc. doesn't pick it up, and doesn't get off these other obsessions they have. This is an historic investigation, because what is being investigated is the idea, can a company and there's other ones at the same level as Exxon Mobile,
hang up or press the pound key.
Yes, it sounded like Jeff hung up on me at 10:35. I'm hearing no audio right now. Okay, this is Dennis. Okay, bye.
One, two. Okay, Dennis, you there?
Oh, good. Okay,
You know
I'm
what
back
happened?
on now.
We have technical problem. We are, for some reason or other, our voice meter cuts out on us. So I'm glad you were there, that you didn't hang up, but you were kept the. Anyway, they're just concerned about profit motive, and it doesn't matter how many people die. It doesn't matter how many forest fires we have or how many tornadoes we have. Because you're still going to need equipment to clean up the tornado, so you're going to use more fuel. You're going to need to rebuild homes. You're going to need more fuel. You have, when someone drops dead, they have these big funerals that bring people in flying around the world to go to the funerals, and they have the cars and the digging with the backhoes to bury the person. It's always around fossil fuel. It's all about fossil fuel. And a lot of people say, well, it's not really fossil fuel. It's another argument. They create more diversions, so we chase our tails, than any possible way we could do this. We need to make sure that we focus on the problem of the energy system. But the reality of energy is that humans, we are renewable energy. We are a species. We take in the sun, we take in water, we run through a cycle, then the next generation picks up, the next baby becomes another piece of renewable energy. And we are a species that I don't believe we understand yet on where we are. I think it's just like the meaning of life. But I do know one thing, that we are doing something wrong within our species. And this is and it's based basically on the problem of economics. So if we could change that, if we could say we need a measurement, because human beings require in every language the same measurement, just like a foot or a mile or time, agreement of measurement. And that's what we do not have in the economic system. And that's what we're trying to put forth with the renewable energy measurement.
And I want to go back to
Go ahead.
why I think this is so significant. I mean, okay, if they get some kind of ruling ultimately, and it may take many, many years, but they do know how to do this now, because they did it with
Tobacco. It didn't really work.
And well, it worked in terms, okay, it did work, and this is how it does work. It isn't a futile exercise by any means. This kind of activity draws the curtain away from companies that feel that they have license to work any way they wish, and that nobody will ever have any way to get at their internal workings and what they really are doing and saying. And they are very defensive right now, but the curtain is being drawn, maybe not totally, so that everything is revealed. And of course, they're quickly scuttling to hide anything that could incriminate them about.
Just like the Wizard of Oz, don't pay any attention to that man behind the
once
curtain.
you start drawing the curtain, and people start seeing how these huge companies operate, and their attitudes toward their product, which is so damaging, and we know scientifically that this is true.
It's like people.
It's not
like people producing food
being made up.
It's like the people producing food that
and
their
of course,
companies know that's not good for them.
Right.
Then you ask the CEO, "You eat that food? I'm not going to eat that crap."
And I won't live near that.
And I won't live near that.
Right.
Near that place that manufacturing this smoke and soot. I'm going to live away from that,
exactly.
or keep away from the uranium.
I won't let my children go to that school.
Right.
I won't. These are they say one thing and they know another thing in their heads, and they're lying. Now, the extent of the lies, when the lies started, oh, I think 100 years ago, but
Or more.
you know, but they're looking, you know, where they need to make the law work. But this is a quote from one of these articles. Whether Exxon Mobile began disclosing the business risks of climate change as soon as it understood them is likely to be a major focus of the New York case. The people with knowledge of the case say the Attorney General's investigators were pouring through the company's disclosure filings made since the 1970s, but were focusing in particular on recent statements to investors. Okay, here we go. 2015. This is a recent statement to investors. It's called The Lamp. And of course, you can get a copy of this somehow.
You're going to hold it up a little better so they can
okay,
see
I'm
that.
sorry.
You just flashed it.
Well, I'm not very good at
Okay,
this.
you just
Here,
hold it right up
this
to
is
the.
it.
This is a publication
Of
that
Exxon
you
Mobile.
get when
If
you
you get it, even if you just own one share, like
you
we
see
do,
that this is one
which brings
share.
us what, 30 cents
Cents
a
a month.
month.
But this is the kind of information they give you.
Well, this is the publication.
And this and
It's
show
called
the
The Lamp.
article.
Okay, and one article that I read and marked up, and I want to read you. It's actually written
I just want to show it to you how they wrap it in the American flag, and they said, what does that say on that?
I can't read it backwards.
By
bipartisan efforts.
bipartisan. Now this is
okay. Now this is the letter from the CEO of Exxon Mobile, Rex W. Tillerson.
now this guy makes millions of dollars,
Chairman
of dollars
of
a year.
Exxon Mobile Corporation. Let's see. Chairman Exxon. Well, that still doesn't tell us what. Oh well, it doesn't matter.
Chairman.
He's the chairman. He's the guy that.
Executive officer. Chairman, executive officer. That's like a president.
Oh well.
The chairman, CEO.
Okay, enough.
Chairman,
I don't care. There's too much on that information. Okay. Now, what he is focusing on here in this article called "Bipartisan Efforts at Just the Right Time," and this is last year. This is 2015, and they're in this case are focusing in particular on recent statements to investors. Okay, this is a recent statement to investors, very recent. He's all excited because Toxic Substance Controls Act, TSCA, and they always use just the letters.
Right.
So TSCA, Toxic Substances Controls Act, is coming up for review in our Congress. And he's all excited because he thinks that they're going to modify it in favor of less
companies.
Regulations. Okay? Here's what he says. This is his words, quote, Democrats and Republicans in Congress have come together in an effort to modernize the Toxic Substances Control Act, TSCA, the outdated regulations affecting the chemical industry. The proposed reforms will help bring 1970s legislation into the 21st century. Okay, he's saying that this is all outmoded regulations on a chemical industry. We spoke about that earlier. And the person who said that the chemical industry is the bricks and mortar of the petroleum industry was Daniel Yergin. And he said, and this is quoted in this article, quote, to borrow a phrase from Daniel Yergin, plastics and chemical products are, quote, the bricks and mortar of contemporary civilization.
Now,
they are found in.
Anyone who doesn't know who Dan Yergin is,
okay.
Dan Yergin wrote a book called The Prize many years ago.
Definitely read that.
And
that's all about.
And I met Dan Yergin years ago, and I gave him a piece of paper that said, "Can you incorporate renewable energy into one of your new books?" And we met afterward. We said, "Don't you understand? That's not my ballywag." That was his exact words.
Ballywag.
Ballywag.
What does that mean?
He didn't want to elaborate on the difference between renewable energy and fossil fuel energy because he's married to the fossil, to the
petroleum industry.
and extractive industries.
Mhm.
That's what he makes his
Right.
money on.
And that, if
That's
I
who Dan
have
Jorgen is.
time, right,
You got 6 minutes.
I will show you the words of an indoctrinated person in another article. But here we are with the chairman of CEO of Exxon Mobile, you know, plastics and chemical production, bricks and mortar of contemporary civilization. They're counting on the status quo that we have now that's damaging human health, planet health, etc., will be so big it can't fail. That humanity will push it to its limit, beyond its limit, and they will keep making insane profit and jump off the edge of the earth because they really think it's still flat. Because if they didn't think it was flat, they would realize that there is not an infinite progress into space on each edge of this world. That it's finite. We live on a sphere. We have a finite amount of resources. But here we go. He's rooting for deregulation of rules that govern toxic substances.
He wants to make it more toxic.
Back in the 70s, were not as smart as people now. Who the people that made those rules, they didn't know what they were talking about that back then.
They did.
That's and they really did, because the 70s was actually a little rise in the social understanding of how renewable energy and less impact on the resources of the earth would be a very, very good idea. And so a lot of those regulations reflect that, I'm sure. And that's why it really annoys a company like this and their CEO. Okay, here we go on with his very own words. And this is the way they're promoting to their stockholder their position. Because the federal legislation is so out of date, this system is not working. In other words, they're not making enough money. In the face of this dysfunction and ambiguity in Washington, a patchwork of state and local laws now exists, further complicating. Oh, they're getting more strict regulations from some of the states, so they don't like that, and that's even worse.
Not in my backyard. I mean, the spills of oil in the backyard.
Says there's people on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, and quote, thanks to the efforts of leaders from both parties in Washington, we can look forward to clearing away that clutter and enacting reforms that bring clarity, certainty, and consistency to America's dynamic and vital chemistry industry. With these reforms, parents in every state can be confident that their children are adequately protected from any risks, while the manufacturers from New Jersey to California will have the regulatory certainty they need to continue to innovate and create jobs.
Outrageous. Okay. Jobs are more important than life. So by all means, you've got to work your job no matter how sick you become. And if you get too sick, just die. Because there's plenty of jobs out there, but we're killing people getting those jobs. Now, I think that's what's going on in China now, by the way. The air is so polluted, people are dying from all kinds of diseases because of pollution. But they got lots of jobs, even though people aren't making any money, but they're not making any quality of life. They're working their butts off.
Okay, let me just read his conclusion here. It seems that this, what he calls TSCA, Toxic Substance Control Act modernization, he calls it modernization, passed the House this summer with overwhelming bipartisan support. Well, once again, we see how politics is in the pocket of economics. Quote, and in the Senate, a coalition of both Democrats and Republicans are pushing similar legislation across the finish line in the hopes of sending a final bill to the president's desk. Now, I don't know what happened with this. I should look this up. Those in Congress who are working together to modernize TSCA regulations deserve credit. They are acting in the best interests of our economy and our environment.
No, they're not.
I mean, this is an individual who will say anything. He knows what the climate is of what he needs to say, but he knows what his company needs, and that's the most important thing. They are setting an example, quote, for modern Washington, building bridges across the parties to act with wisdom and common sense. It is a moment for which we can all give thanks. In other words, he's praying, and which should guide the efforts of our elected leaders and policymakers into the future. Okay, so he's in a veiled way there, showing that God is on their side.
Well, anyway, just
have we heard that before?
okay. We're gonna have to take a break. It's about that time. Thank you all for listening.
This is the end of the.
This is the end. We did another hour. Thank you very much.
I wanted to show you how a real believer speaks once they're an employee. May I just say, once you're an employee, here's what they say.
You only have a minute.
Okay, let me say
Go
it.
ahead.
We have choice in this, you know. Quote, our job is to discover new sources of oil and gas that are better than what is already in Exxon Mobil's industry-leading resource base, now estimated at 92 billion oil equivalent barrels. By better, I mean that they have the potential to generate a higher economic return over the life of the resource for all stakeholders. That is the bottom line.
All stakeholders.
Potential to generate a higher economic return over the life of the resource. That's what they say. That's how they talk about our planet as a resource. The life, what kind of life of a resource?
Energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.
Fossil fuel affects our lives like ripples on a lake.
Cars and farms and factories and trucks.
Supplies go down and prices soar, our futures are at stake. And when it's gone, it won't come back and we'll be out of luck. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.
We can get our energy from corn and grass and trees. Even trash converts to biofuels.
Break loose from the stranglehold of oil companies. Renewables can fuel the world.
We're here to spread the news. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.